All right. So again, welcome everyone. Really excited to go over with you using Meez in the kitchen. This is a tool that was developed as a culinary tool. It's meant to be used by cooks. So how do we do that? It can be very tricky for a lot of kitchens to figure out how to get this incorporated into their operations, using it in a way that makes sense for their cooks and their staff. So I want to really just kind of get in there and help everyone understand the best practices for that, what we suggest, but also hear from everybody here. If you've had success getting this in front of your cooks and I'm using it, feel free to chat in and let us know. We want to, open this up to everybody and really understand kind of what works and what doesn't. We can give you as many best practices as we can, but in practice, in actual kitchens, we'd love to hear from you as well. So without further ado, let's just share my old screen here. I'm going to share my whole desktop just because there's going to be a couple of different things we're going to show off here. All right, so I made a little handbook that I'm going to share with everybody as well after this, but it's just a really kind of step-by-step guide to really getting yourself, using this in your kitchen with three big goals, right? Faster prep, actually using this with your cooks to give them a tool to do their jobs faster and better, with hopefully better results, more consistent results going out to the customers. Sorry, apologies if I'm stop talking for moments because I'm admitting people as I talk. The second big goal here is having a reliable resource. A lot of people come to me because they have different, copies of recipes that live in different places and no one's quite sure which one's the most updated version. And we wanted to put it into that. We want people to be able to have a source of truth for their recipes. And the way to do that is to have a place for them, cloud-based online that everyone can agree. These are the updated recipes. The last thing, reduced waste through accurate scaling, converting units of measure, and just generally executing recipes better so that what you're doing is getting your, less inconsistencies, so less returned food, less complaints, and fewer and less waste, which is a killer in most kitchens. So these are the three big things that we like to really kind of hammer home when it comes to using this. But also a lot of people come to us with cost questions. How do I get my plate costs? How do I get my theoretical food costs? Food costs are completely theoretical until they're put into practice. And if your staff aren't trained, if they're not using the recipes that you've written out that have clear instructions and clear quantities, it doesn't matter how well costed your plates are. It doesn't matter how beautiful they are in Meez and how that beautiful food cost percentage number. Useless unless your staff are actually executing it according to a specific list of steps. So how do we do that? The big ways to do that is, big steps to consider here. Fairly straightforward, right? First, add your recipes. This program does not, work unless you have recipes in it. So the first step is to get those recipes in there. Secondly, setting up your team. So creating logins for devices, bookmarking those logins so that it's easy to find later, adding team members through using a smartphone versus a tablet, and even considering using this for front of house. Front of house can do great things with this program. There's, as everyone here probably knows, the tension between front of house and back of house is pretty much ubiquitous. No matter where you work, it's always going to be the case. And a lot of it comes down to just knowledge. Who has the knowledge of the recipes? Well, the kitchen does. Front of house, how they have to ask these questions. Back of house gets all mad. Giving them a place that they can go and look at the recipes and look at the allergens and look at how it's prepared and have that knowledge to walk out to the customers can be really, really valuable. So once you have the setup, actually adding your team to Meez, which is a breeze. It takes no time at all. And I'll go through that in a second. And then also training your team. Last thing, getting them used to the tool. How do they scale in it? How do they convert recipes from grams to cups, things like that. So because we're focusing really on using this in the kitchen, I'm going to skip the first part, adding recipes. There's plenty of resources out there, including webinars about adding recipes. What I want to jump into first and foremost is setting up your team. A lot of questions we get about putting, what's the best option? There's two ways, really. One, individual access. So adding people's individual emails or individual accounts so that they can access from their phones, which is a really great option for a lot of kitchens now. Most people who've given me feedback say that they've stopped really forcing their staff to put their phones away. It's just not happening anymore. So if they have their phones anyway, give them access to their recipes. The downside of that is that if they walk, the night's over, they go home, they're on their weekend, they have their recipes in their phones. Is that a concern for you? Maybe not. Maybe it is. It's really up to you whether you mind them having, being able to take that off premises. If you do mind, if you really don't want them, those recipes leaving the restaurant's floor, station access, the one option on the right-hand side, is really your best option. Having a tablet set up for different stations, one for back of house, one for front of house, maybe a couple for back of house, maybe just floating. It's up to you, but having station access is really a great way. This was designed to be used for mobile devices, so on tablets is a great option. On the subject of tablets, we've gotten a lot of feedback about using tablets in Meez, and for the most part, they all work great. The thing to think about is what browser you're using. So Safari and Chrome are really the ideal ones. Those are most of our users use those. So we tend to do updates and things and testing with those in mind as much as possible. So, and this means that there's one in particular, not to throw shade out there, but Amazon Kindle Fires, I would avoid. They're not really ideal for this kind of program. They're, really ebook readers, and they're not meant for apps like this. So while they're really cheap, I do not recommend those. For the most part, every other tablet we've heard of from, the Android and the iPad families work great. Keep them updated, put out software updates. We keep track of our apps based on those software updates. So keep your tablets updated. And by the way, you can buy them, refurbished, factory reset for like 120, 150 bucks on Amazon. So that's my suggestion, is kind of grab a couple of refurbished iPads. They're quarter of the price of a new one. They're all over the internet. You can get them from a lot of really reputable vendors. But go for the good brands. Don't go for the Kindle Fires or any like really knockoff brands that might be slow and laggy and stuff like that, because that's what you don't want to do. Put that in front of your staff. All right. So, and of course, as I'm talking, feel free to throw questions in the chat. If you are thinking about setting up with your smartphone, we have a place to add your team members on the app. I'll pop over there real quick. So in Meez, if you go to the top left, your little, we call it the hamburger, and go to Manage Team, you can add your team members right here. And for smartphone access, just add their personal email addresses or their company email addresses if you have, if you're giving out company emails to your staff. And just click Add Team Member right here, put in their name and their email address, and decide what access you want to give them. So we have two different kinds: view access. Those are going to be for your prep cooks, for folks or FOH, folks you don't want to be able to have access to changing recipes, adding new recipes, or deleting recipes. That's a view access. And I'll show you kind of what that looks like in a sec. Edit access is your sous chefs and up your people, kitchen managers, people who are you tasked with creating recipes, with maintaining them, with deleting and organizing recipes. Those are your editors here. Managers, by the way, these are folks who have access to more costing features. So you can be an editor and have manager access. You can actually also be a viewer and have manager access. Manager access is kind of its own thing to give you more access to costing. So yeah, if you're doing smartphone, put in the team member's name, put in their personal email address or their own company email address. If you're doing tablets, consider doing something like this, where I'm going to skip ahead real quick. Consider making just a generic tablet email address up. You can actually use this form right here to sign up, build this new account, this kind of like almost fake email address account, and just do tablet1 at originalneedfuzz.com, and you're off and running. And then save that password to the tablet. That way, the next time someone comes in, they just click on Meez, and it'll automatically log them in. And it's just a kind of generic password. You can also use an existing company password too, if that makes sense. It's just, it's up to you. But there is a way, and I'll send these slides to you. There's a way just to sign up using any old email address and then log in from the Teams page. Popping back to your smartphones, and this occurs on tablets too. Really, really helpful feature that most browsers use, especially Chrome and Safari, is when you go to the app.meez.com, app.getmeez.com for the first time, A little icon, a little we call it a modal, a little pop-up will appear that says install app or add meez to home screen. See those there? That's very, very valuable because actually, because meez is a web app, it's not something you download from the Play Store. It's something you just log in through a browser. However, web apps do give you the ability to download like a little icon, basically a bookmark right on your your home screens. And so to your users, to your staff, it's going to look like an icon just like any other app, and they can just click on the meez logo and enter that way. So anytime you see I'd advise to really, anytime you see add meez to home screen or install app, either of these two kind of images, hit install or hit yes. And then that way it just kind of creates that shortcut right for you there. Just trying to make it easy for, your cooks to find this stuff. All right. So sharing recipes. Now, one thing to note is that this manage team page gives, when you add team members using this page, it gives them access to the whole concept. And by concept, I mean, if you go to the top left here, every account comes with a concept, and you might have an account with multiple concepts, right? You have different restaurants across the country, all doing different menus. So you're able to manage all of this in meez. And if I click on my concepts page, you see here's my hot dog, restaurant here, and my R&D concept that I'm using just to kind of play with new recipes, hopefully launching a new concept later down the line. When I go to manage team, this is where I'm adding a team member and adding them to those concepts. You'll see them listed on the left-hand side. So I can pick view access for one and edit access for another, etc. So now, some people don't want to add team members to the whole concept because their recipes, their database might be 900 recipes long, and they don't want their cooks to see all that. They want them to see one section of their recipes, one recipe book, for instance. Well, we have that ability too. You can go to any recipe book, and instead of adding them to the concept, you can just select the checkbox right here and click grant view access. And it's the same idea. You're just putting in the email address of whoever you want to add on, and they will get access just to this recipe book. So they'll only see, in this case, the 8 recipes that are in my catering account. This can be really, really valuable for just kind of focusing your team members. If you think to them that they might be confused by there's just too many options and too much to sift through because there's too much data in there, consider just making a recipe book just for those stations or just for those individuals and grant view access just to that recipe book. Okay. On that note, this might take a little bit longer, but you can do the same thing with recipes, actually. You can click on just recipes like that and click grant view access also. So another option for you. And again, it's just focusing the attention of your staff to just those recipes that are important. All right, so there's a little slide about that there. And one of the other really important features in meez for your team members is the ability to translate these recipes. So once they log in and they see a recipe, for instance, this would be an example of the recipe that they would see. You'll notice that most of you probably recognize that there's not an edit button here, and there's not tabs that say prep method and cost that your owners, you folks and editors can see. Viewers can only see this. They won't be able to see that edit button there, right? We don't want them to edit. However, the live values for each ingredient to be able to scale or click the batch size, all of this is still available. So they can still scale up. They can still convert between units of measure. So they want to see how many cups of Dijon that is because they don't want to weigh it. They can convert between cups and grams. And they can do all of that great stuff on the left-hand side, as well as view the prep method slideshows that you'll, of course, put into your recipes to help train them, right? This is the great part about being able to train with meez and getting that consistency going. Being able to have very clear guidelines about how to produce the food that you're making and what it should look like. This is a game changer for a lot of restaurants. Most of this stuff is what we call institutional knowledge. It's living in the heads of a couple different people who may or may not be present at that time. Put that stuff down here, get them to, take pictures or do videos of these steps so that they live in a place that's accessible. Very, very helpful and very important for maintaining consistency and onboarding new customers, or sorry, not new customers, new employees. The amount of feedback we get about how hard it is to get new employees up to the level they need to be with the high turnover we see, is crucial. It's crucial to be able to give something like this to your staff and have them able to execute their jobs faster to the degree they need to in a shorter time span, and not burden the rest of the team with kind of the lack of experience. So that's the kind of level of access they're going to have here. And the reason I jumped into here was the translate. Because we built this for Safari and for Chrome and for these browsers that have translate add-ons, you can see at the top right here, just right there, it says Google Translate is already in my Chrome browser, which means all I have to do is right-click, or in tablets, double tap, and you'll see it says Translate right there. And you just have to click Translate, and it will swap it over for you, just like that. Very, very easy to do. And you can always pop back, choose another language. You can choose any language you want from these apps. So it's really, really helpful to be able to do that for your staff, and have them, give them the ability to be able to see this in the languages that they're most comfortable in. Again, that is detailed a little bit more in the slideshow, and I'll make sure I send that out to everybody at the end of this. All right, I see somebody else joining up. So, all right. A couple last small things to go over. One, I mentioned front of house, right? So the ability to see this as a server or bartender, not to mention the fact that bartenders and cocktails are great in Meez, and to be able to train your bar program on this as well. But servers, hosts, and people who are asked questions about allergens, they can quickly view these recipes. And if you scroll down on the right, all the way down, you see there's actually a section for nutritional information. And so you can actually very quickly see if someone has a question about this stuff, what your allergens are for a certain recipe or menu item, and even the calorie counts and all that good stuff right from the app. So this is part of the view only, which is meant for your just general staff. There's a comment section as well. It can be very fun. Have your team enter comments, questions about the recipe, or possibly ask or suggestions or things like that. If there's any room for that in your kitchens, there is an option for that too. Last couple things, I want to actually really encourage everybody on this call to, as they're adding team members to their account, and as they're kind of getting their team members using it, keep in mind we have a little question mark at the top right here, where you can ask us a question, our support team, and you can also search for help articles. But we also have this suggest a feature. I really, really recommend everybody checking out and putting in their opinion, their kind of thoughts about how Meez is working for you, how it's working for your staff, what more you want from it when it comes to using this in the kitchen. Because as you probably know, I've said to probably most of you before, this is an app that was built by chefs. We are all culinary people. We build this for teams like yourselves. We want to hear from you. We want you to tell us kind of what's working and what's not, what you think might be helpful to make this a better tool for your cooks. So please keep that in mind. It's right here for everyone to use, suggesting a feature. Our team listens very closely to what's coming in from folks like yourselves. So we really encourage you to give feedback on this. Maureen, thank you for the kind words. Do you need to manually enter nutritional information? Yes, there is you do need to enter them manually, but it's a very quick process, similar to costing. It's connecting your ingredients to nutritional data through right in the app. I don't have time to go over it today, unfortunately, but we have plenty of resources. Actually, what a good segue. Let's pop over to my new favorite place. You've probably heard me, you've probably seen my emails. This is our community. Look at that. We just stood this up a couple weeks ago. We've been inviting people slowly, and we did a mass invite not too long ago. I want to really encourage everybody to get in there and explore. We are using this as a resource hub for all Meez users. The handbooks that I went over today are right here, plus a couple other ones, building your account and getting your food costs right. On the left, we have a place for you to introduce yourself and connect to other team member, other meez users, so you can find restaurateurs just like yourselves, or chefs, or anybody who's using meez, and kind of engage with them. So it's a process, it's a way for you to engage with us, but also each other. I really think this would be really helpful for cooks. The culinary world is a very community driven place, so we wanted to have a place for that for meez users too. And something that's really helpful down the left here is the Meez University. Most of my work at Meez is helping people learn the app and implement it in their restaurants. And there's a place here called Essential Topics and Tutorials that really give you a good idea about what to do in Meez and how to do it. And there's a lot of material here, as well as nutritional information, Maureen, about how to use nutrition as well. So really wanted to point you towards that. In my follow-up email to y'all, I'll make sure to add a link to subscribe to the community. It's free, so it's there for you to use, and just as a supplement to kind of everything we have in app. We wanted to build this for y'all, so you have a place both to reach out to us, other team members, other meez users, and also just kind of learn as much as you can about the program. So that brings us mostly to the end. Thank you so much, sirs. Appreciate the nice, kind words. If I go back to my little slideshow here, so we covered adding your team from the manage team page. Training your team is really the last thing. And I have a couple slides here in this that will help. The two main things are really scaling recipes, converting between units of measure, and using those prep steps, which I went over briefly today, but I want to make sure everyone knows that just having this available to your staff is great. It's going to be helpful, but a lot of people will look at it and go, okay, well that's cool, but if I don't know how to use it, then how does that help me? So we have a little section here called Everything You Need to Know About Viewer Access, and if when you click on that link, it'll bring you to a page. I just recommend having that kind of also bookmarked, and so your staff can kind of learn as they go. We try to put as much videos and walkthroughs as we can, and we're continuously building this out to kind of get people to use the app and understand how to use it faster. So it just becomes another tool they use. Any culinary tool you put in front of them, it's all well and good, but if you don't know how to use it, if you're not trained on how to use it, it's not going to be used properly. So I wanted to make sure we showed you that as well. By the way, on this topic, and feel free to, again, we have a few more minutes to send some more comments and questions. On the roadmap coming up for probably next year, we're doing a lot of costing updates this year, making costing a really easy way of easy in app. Next year, we're very likely going to be moving into more team-oriented work, prep lists, being able to assign team members assignments and prep roles, and more production-oriented kind of features. So keep in mind that we're continuously building this app for folks like yourselves. And again, I really encourage everybody to really get in there and suggest features that apply to the using this in the kitchen, because we'd love to hear it. It'll really help us build this in a way that works for you. Question coming in: any plans to integrate with POSs like Toast? Awesome question. We get this a lot. The menus feature, which is going to be released in a couple weeks-ish, I'm not supposed to give times, is going to be the first leg in getting us a way for you to pull in costs from a POS. Now, we still have ways to go with actually getting those costs in automatically, but it is for sure on the roadmap to be able to pull in your costs in directly from your sales and see big picture kind of menu performance right there in the app. So really, it's really exciting stuff, and we should have more information about pulling it in from Toast specifically or other POS systems. We don't want to just focus on one because there are a lot, but we want to do it right. We want to build it in a way that's going to work for everybody and not just a quick and dirty way. So do look out for that. Cool, Carol. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate the comments, and feel free again, suggest it in the app so that our product team knows that it's hot on everyone. All right, cool. 5 minutes left. We can either give it back to you or we can keep going with some questions. Will that integration be an additional cost? I do not have an answer for that at the moment. We are likely going to tier out the how the menus feature, the new menus feature, which will, I think we've done a little walkthrough about it, but we're probably going to do a bigger webinar about it. So look out for that. So we're going to tier that out. So there's going to be some functionality in the premium version, and different functionalities for the premium plus version. But it does remain to be seen, Paolo. So I do not have a definitive answer for you right there. All right. Any other questions about using this in the kitchen? How we feeling? Everyone good? Seems like we're good. Cool. Thanks for everything. Appreciate it, Maureen. All right. Well, you know where to find me, most of you. Feel free to email me and let me know if you have any other follow-up questions. I'll be sending out the recording as well as some other information soonly. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, hope everyone's having a great week. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everyone.